Alrighty, welcome back everyone. It is LaughNgamez here. I'm back with another Starcraft 2 1 versus 1 bot AI cast. We have got ourselves what should be a good one here today, as it's gonna be none other than Caninana, one of the top Zerg bots, pretty much number 2, I think it's safe to say. Gonna be taking on SharpenedEdge, which is a toy that contains a functional sharp edge / point not for children under 4 years old. So we're on the map Thunderbird, the AI edition of course, and I get lots of comments saying like, what's the AI edition of a map mean? Basically it just means that the map is compatible so it can be played on the bot ladder. I know there's some tweaks and stuff that have to be made, so even more work that goes into maintaining the bot ladder, which is incredibly impressive and very appreciated by those that do maintain it, so big shout out to them. And yeah, ladies and gentlemen, before we get too far into this match, make sure to go ahead and click that like button. If you haven't already, give it a clack, give it a click, whatever it may be. Whatever you like, basically. And yeah. Leave a comment down below saying more bots if you want to see more of these bot matches. I certainly enjoy casting them. As far as this match goes, SharpenedEdge versus Caninana, I do think that we've got quite a clear favorite, probably Caninana. However, it has been shown to be susceptible sometimes to big pushes, which a bot like SharpenedEdge is very good at executing, so we'll see if SharpenedEdge can maybe pull a bit of a sneaky one here today, as it gets a Nexus on the way. Gateway, Cybercore, and then Nexus. Nothing too unusual there. Meanwhile, Caninana is just doing it safe, slow and steady macro, killing off that scouting probe. And then getting metabolic boost on the way, so Ling speed, but still mining gas, as it probably will go into roaches a little bit later. Then Caninana just scouting out, seeing that there's a Zealot. I'm willing to bet that that wall is going to be completed fairly soon by SharpenedEdge. We'll see whatever tech the Protoss bot is going to invest in, which we're actually kind of eagerly waiting for. It starts up Warp Gate. It has the money to produce a building with tech, and it just goes for a second Zealot and a Stalker. But no Stargate, no Robo, no Twilight just yet. SharpenedEdge is really keeping the suspense up, keeping me guessing. Zealot's trying to chase down that Ling, however the Ling gets right on by. We then have a Stalker popping out for Caninana. Caninana's Overlord could be in a little bit of trouble as a result of this. Hopefully the Stalker, though, doesn't block this Robo from building. Looks like it will not, so good job, Stalker. And then just it's a matter of whether the Stalker is going to chase down and kill that Overlord, and it does. And then just, yeah, Robo going to be the tech of choice for SharpenedEdge, which definitely can lend to its preferred play style of these big round gateway pushes. Caninana is scouting out all over the map. It's now got Ling speed done. Burrow is about to finish up in about 20 seconds, so that's going to allow it to block expansions, keep units alive, save drones from harassment. That's one of the things Caninana really utilizes that early burrow from. For example, if there was an Oracle on the way, SharpenedEdge would probably not get any damage done with it. Now, Lings are still running around. SharpenedEdge has got 2 Stalkers and a Zealot hanging out at a potential third base location, so we'll see if the toss is going to go for that. Instead, it just tosses up a couple of gateways for now, although there still is the potential for a third relatively soon. We have an observer on the way out, Caninana. I really like how in chat it lets us see what it sees by just putting that in chat. I'm sure the bot author might use that to debug some of their games, perhaps. Stalkers do intercept a Ling, which would have potentially been blocking SharpenedEdge's third base, so that's quite important. The Protoss bot will get that third base up with very little trouble. And if we look at the timing, the Protoss third is not that far behind the third of Caninana, just a minute. I mean, I say just a minute, but a minute in StarCraft 2 is a while. Anyway, the point I'm making, the Zerg's third is slow, the Protoss's third is reasonably timed. And then we do just have More observers on the way for the Protoss bot, as this one is really just getting vision of everything, so SharpenedEdge doing a good job scouting out. Meanwhile, Caninana is forming some sort of unholy blob of overlords on top of its lair. I guess that's just where it chooses to keep them safe, as these overlords are really just grouping up. Then an overseer pops on out of there. Another overseer pops on out of there. I find it funny, is there like a limit to how many overlords can fit in that one spot? I thought there wasn't a limit in Starcraft 2, so I'm curious why these guys are on the outside. Anyway, we've got Caninana making some units, getting out some roaches, getting out some lings. A fourth base is on the way. Meanwhile, the Protoss bot is still just building up, getting up a Robo Bay. Forge coming on out, so both bots are heading towards upgrades as Caninana fires up an Evo chamber as well. Meanwhile, we have got Stalkers and Zealots just hanging out for SharpenedEdge, mainly a ground-based composition for now, and then probably just going to be adding in some Colossus or Disruptors. Very interesting warp-in positions for SharpenedEdge as it warps in 3 Zealots. I wonder what the logic behind that was, as it's like, it was very symmetrical, the warp-in. Now the Protoss bot is saturating up the third base, actually leading the Zerg and workers for now. However, as Caninana's Zerg macro takes off, that's going to change. These Zerg bots, once they get going, they really get going. And oh man, SharpenedEdge is actually in a bit of trouble as Caninana decides to get offensive with its lings, and quite a few of the Stalkers of SharpenedEdge are caught. 5 Stalkers going down in all for a small number of lings, and Caninana is actually getting sort of irregularly aggressive. This is not something that Caninana is known to do, to commit to attacks this early in the game, I don't think. However, it's trying its luck. Roaches are coming on in. They can kite the Zealots basically indefinitely, although the Zealots do have charge, which helps out with that. But the Zealots are not going to kill the Roaches easily, seeing as how the Roaches can just burrow when they get close to dying. So SharpenedEdge, it's going to be important for this Protoss bot to get out some extra units. A Colossus popping out will definitely help clean this up. There is an observer on the front, which will prevent units from just burrowing to stay alive. And SharpenedEdge holds on. Resources lost. That was a good trade for Caninana. Meanwhile, we've got Caninana saying thermal lances forward, sentries, just keeping tabs on everything. Meanwhile, the Overseers really are keeping tabs on everything. They are just alive and independently controlled as they're scouting non-stop for Caninana. That's a really cool feature of this Zerg bot. It says, nope, I'm just going to have eyes on absolutely everything, as it goes up to its 9th Overseer already. Caninana is saying tag Adept phase shift, so there is a couple of Adepts hanging out, I suppose. Then Phoenix hanging out. Phoenix. And then SharpenedEdge just getting up into a 4th base. Meanwhile, Caninana is on 4 bases. So SharpenedEdge just brushing off that attack it took earlier. Now up to 2 Colossus, which is quite a good number, as Colossus are pretty good in these bot matches. However, the overall army supply is not that good for the toss, so I'm actually somewhat concerned because Caninana is going to be maxed out. It's only got 20 supply to go. Meanwhile, the Protoss bot is only at 130 supply, so a huge lead for the Zerg. Stalkers and Sentries are getting caught by some of these Roaches. That's quite unfortunate for SharpenedEdge. The Protoss bot is really going to need to hunker down to stay alive. Instead, it's moving out with its units to take a fight. Colossus are zoning out these Roaches, but man, oh man, that is a lot of Roaches. 34 Roaches out in all. The Protoss's production is just not as high as the Zerg. The income for Caninana is very, very high, distributed on those 4 bases. Well, actually 5, 6 bases. An attack towards the left side, pardon, or I guess the middle, I don't know, wherever you want to call this location. The 4th base of SharpenedEdge is under pressure. We do see hallucinated Archons get put down to try and soak some of the damage. However, probes are being pulled into the fight. The Colossus have really been taken on a hike as these Roaches want to engage into them, but they are definitely afraid of the Colossus, understandably so. The toss does still have 1 Immortal alive. However, the trades I don't think are going that well for SharpenedEdge, but we'll see if it can stay alive long enough to maybe start taking better trades, as Caninana is just coming on in here. Lings and Roaches picking off those high-value sentries. The Colossus and Roaches are kind of caught in a little bit of a loop here, it seems. As, okay, the Colossus, they want to go down, but they're like, no, just hang out here. It's a safe space. Roaches are looking to collapse on top of the Colossus. Colossus are getting damage done to the Roaches, forcing some of them to retreat. Caninana seems to have successfully killed one of the Colossus. The other one is kind of cornered, but it does seem to damage its way out of this situation. We'll see if it actually escapes the south of the map and can maybe group up. The army positioning of SharpenedEdge is definitely interesting. It's fighting Caninana out on the map and not really just chilling on 4 bases. You can't really call this a turtle bot. Neural Parasite means the Colossus is an enemy. However, it's short-lived as it gets killed pretty much right after being hit with that Neural Parasite. The Protoss is going up in supply. SharpenedEdge is up to 76 army supply to 114, so definitely an improvement compared to what it was prior to this. Immortals are added into the Toss army, so that's going to improve things unless they get hit with a Neural Parasite and just killed. Over the Immortals, they are going to do quite well against these Roaches, forcing them to retreat just by having extremely high damage. Caninana is also not going to be able to keep all those Roaches alive, as the Observers for SharpenedEdge are speedy and doing work. However, mass Infestors are out for Caninana now. There's just currently 8 Infestors with very high energy, which makes me concerned for the Protoss bot pushing out like this. Still, though, the Toss supply continues to climb, which is very impressive, seeing as how it was at like 120 versus 180 at one point. So SharpenedEdge is doing something right, even though it seems it is losing units left, right, and center. It's growing in supply. We have got this one army to the south. These Stalkers to the north are having a bit of a hard time, but they are keeping Caninana occupied. Supply-wise, things are still climbing for SharpenedEdge. We're going to see if it hits that 200 supply mark. Overall, the army of the Protoss, it really is just mainly Stalkers as it adds in more and more Stalkers, +3 attack on the way. A few Immortals here and there. 3 Immortals in all, but that is not that much of a strong Protoss army compared to what Caninana has, which is all these Infestors, although the Infestor spell usage does seem to be limited here. As I say that, though, speak of the devil, Neural Parasite's going down, taking out 2 of the Immortals. The 4th base of SharpenedEdge is also under a little bit of pressure as one Corruptor starts caustic spraying on it. They will abandon that, though, as there's units skirmishing all over the place. So the Toss falls a little bit in supply. However, things aren't looking too bad for SharpenedEdge comparative to earlier. So we'll see whether it can maybe make something happen, as the Protoss bot really just wants to push and fight. Caninana feels the same as it's continuously attacking towards this 4th base. Trades definitely are in favor of the Zerg bot, though, as Caninana climbs in supply. It's currently at climbs in bank. It's maxed out up to 3,000 minerals in the bank right now and climbing. Resources lost really tells us why that is, as it's 13,000 to 6,300. So massive efficiency for Caninana. Stalkers for SharpenedEdge are trying to blink underneath the Broodlords, which pose a new problem for the Protoss bot as well. SharpenedEdge, though, is climbing in supply at 190, so almost maxing out. However, that may be interrupted as Lings and Roaches do kill off quite a few of those Stalkers. SharpenedEdge isn't improving its composition at all either. The Protoss bot is just throwing down a 5th base and sticking with the same. Neural Parasites are going down, taking down some of these Immortals. A Prism is staying alive for now. However, a Corruptor almost picks it off. We'll see if it can kill it or not, as the Protoss bot is being forced back. Caninana is attacking on in non-stop. SharpenedEdge being able to secure a 5th base is impressive. Well, establish a 5th base. I wouldn't say it's really secured properly yet. The Protoss bot is on the defensive still, now making a Disruptor to strengthen this composition a little bit. We've got the Mass Stalker really being the meat and potatoes of the Toss army still, though. And some Broodlords they could potentially get blinked on, but it's not an easy thing to program a bot to blink aggressively. SharpenedEdge has got pretty good Blink Stalker micro, as we've seen all game for the most part, not really making any massive mistakes, kind of just absorbing Caninana when it overextends, but now we're seeing Broodlords getting some efficiencies. Stalkers trying to avoid the Broodlings, but unable to blink on top of the Broodlords, as they really are just dodging the individual Broodlings, which is very cool programming. The Protoss army is being forced towards the bottom left now. Well, not forced, but dragged towards the bottom left by just a few Overseers, which really is leaving this 4th base completely undefended. So it seems that Overseers are being a bit of an MVP right now. The Toss army really is trying to chase down just a few Overseers, cleaning up some creep in the process, but this is allowing Caninana to push on in. and all of a sudden the Protoss bot has just lost all of its probes for the most part. I guess many of them were at that 4th base or transferring towards that 5th. And it seems Caninana is going to win this one out in the long run. It is kind of humorous how SharpenedEdge just sent its units down to the bottom left. They're like, all right, let's go chase down those overseers, boys. A much nicer assignment than trying to deal with all this Zerg, Roach, and Infester. We did see a cool blink from SharpenedEdge's Stalkers there, actually realizing, yeah, we can blink and kill this Broodlord, so very interesting programming there. I wonder what the kind of requirements are the bot author programmed to authorize an aggressive blink like that. Infestors do lock down the last few remaining Stalkers, though. SharpenedEdge's economy is gone, and we do have a victor here. Caninana, unsurprisingly, taking this one. It was cool to see SharpenedEdge try and battle it out, though, to climb in the supply, but then really just the cost efficiency wasn't there. That's one of the things that makes Caninana so scary. It's got that very strong Zerg economy, but then it's got the insane efficiency, which is definitely understandable when you watch how the Roaches are controlled. So few Roaches die compared to other things. 32 Roaches dead versus 77 Stalkers in this game. That really is where Caninana and the Zerg bots get a lot of their efficiency. So it does change the dynamic of StarCraft 2, in that Roaches usually are phased out in the late game of pro matches, but not when it comes to bots. Now, Caninana just cleaning everything up. The Broodlord transition is very cool. I don't think it really checkmated SharpenedEdge too much, but it was very cool to see. The one Disruptor hanging out in the Prism doing its thing. Up to 9 kills. Almost gets one more Nova off, but not quite. And that means we have got 2 Observers and a Prism left. That is that. Caninana gonna clean everything up. Ladies and gentlemen, if you watched all the way to the end of this video, but you're not a subscriber, go ahead and click that subscribe button if you want to get daily StarCraft 2 content. Leave a comment down below. You can say bagels, bits, bites, bananas, bologna, whatever it may be. And then, yeah, leave a like. And if you do want to support the channel and these daily casts, consider becoming a YouTube member. Big thanks to everyone that does support the channel that way. You're very much appreciated. And yeah, I'm not sure if it'll have happened by the time that this video is live or not, but there is going to be another bot tournament getting put on, which I'll be guest casting. So keep an eye out for that. Join the Discord, as of course I'll make an announcement there when I do. But that is something very exciting, put on by AI Arena. I'll see you guys next time. Thanks so much for tuning in.